Hey, Kate.
Sorry, I was like, hi, hello.
No
I've
worries.
never done one of these before. This is my
You
first.
haven't, you haven't. Well, I'm
Yeah.
happy to be your first. There's speed bumps along the way, but we figured it out in the end. So, um, I'm Ben Lindsay from Backstage. I'm really happy to meet you. Thanks for joining us.
I'm happy to meet you too. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, of course. And I've been a fan of yours for years, but this performance in particular and a teacher, I just think it's such a great show. And yeah, I'm excited to hear how you got involved, why you wanted to get involved, because it's so complex, a lot of moral ambiguity going on between your character and Nick Robinson's. So I guess just from the get, what was enticing about this prospect for you?
Um, well, I was excited about, I was approached to star in it, but also to produce it, which was exciting to
Hmm.
me to be able to be creatively involved in everything from the beginning. And I also had already seen the movie version of this, and I was
Hmm.
a fan of the film and of the story. So I knew I wanted to be a part of it right away.
And for this character in particular, you obviously are delving into things that are a little touchy, and obviously on a spectrum of right and wrong, she is in the wrong. But my favorite thing about the show is its exploration of the gray area to that, the nuances to that. Can you speak at all about why that was appealing to you as an actor?
Yeah, agree. I think that the show exposes the gray area of consent and power dynamics. And, you know, I was interested in the lies that my character was going to tell herself to justify her behavior and why she did those, why she did the things that she did, and what led her to doing making the choices that she made. Um, I think it's really fascinating to explore the multi-dimensional power dynamics and consent.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we had the chance here at Backstage to speak with Hannah Fidel, who's creator and showrunner of this series, and she spoke to that too, just how she wasn't interested in telling a story so much about the black and white nature of this is right and wrong. You're kind of along the way understanding and seeing as a viewer that there is chemistry and there is affection between these characters, and what do you do with those kind of gross feelings that it might stir up? Um, what's that dialogue like between you and Nick Robinson in particular to kind of dive into that murkiness?
A lot, we had a lot of conversations, me and Nick and Hannah, about the dynamic between the two of them, and trying to spend equal time exploring the story from both perspectives. That was more of a job for the writers than it was for us. But I just think that we were really interested in exploring what happens after the sensational headlines. And
Mm,
so for me and Nick, it was we were trying to just find the sort of natural human chemistry, you know, um, without all the other complications and obviously
mm,
the illegal part of it. That was another aspect of it, but a lot of it does have to be just normal, um, you know, chemistry that luckily we just had as humans, and we really got along right away.
mm. I was going to ask just kind of that chemistry building process, but aside from the natural connection that you have with the co-star from the get, what makes a good scene partner in your book, and how do you bring that to the table on the day?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that like that natural chemistry that you can't really fake is sort of the most important thing. But someone who's very prepared, but also is willing to throw it all away and really improvise is always interesting. And
Mm,
when you're working with someone like Hannah Fidel, that's really important to her,
mhm.
because all of her work has a lot of realism in it and is super raw.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, this character Claire, do you find that she came easily to you? Was it easy to inhabit her skin, or did it require a lot of research? Just what did that process look like for you to actually get into her head?
No, there was definitely research, like, well, to be fair, Hannah and the writers definitely did more of the research.
Mm.
They connected with lawyers who have represented both survivor and abuser. And, we were looking at a lot of, there's so many, if you just go on Google pretty much on a daily basis, the amount of stories and headlines like this that happen on a weekly basis, sometimes
Mm-hmm.
daily, is pretty remarkable. So, I was doing that constantly. But yeah, it was more about creating this person alongside Hannah.
Yeah. Well, what do you do as an actor to empathize with a character that is doing something wrong? Did you find yourself still feeling for her in the moment?
Well, I think it's important to really know, in this case, backstory, or to create
Mm.
one, maybe that people don't even learn about throughout the show. Certain things
Mm-hmm.
you will, but certain things are just for you. Um, and I also don't think that I don't think you always need to sympathize or relate to your character that you're playing. I think sometimes it's more interesting if you can't connect to certain things, but you just have to find it somehow anyway. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I definitely related to certain things. I think that, like, for example, before she does anything illegal with her student, I think that anyone can relate to the feeling of, feeling lost or not seen, and I think that that's a big part of where she is in her life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, can you give us whether it be Claire or any of the other great characters that you've played, what does that kind of character building process look like in general? What are the tenets of Kate Mara inhabiting a new character? What's your practice look like?
Um, oh God, I don't even know. I didn't study acting,
Mm.
and I'm not saying that's the way to go. I think for everybody, there are different ways to get where you want to go. But for me, it's always about, like, connecting with the other actor. So, like, I find it much more difficult to be sort of alone in a scene than it is to be with somebody else. Um, and a lot of that, I think, is just sort of found on set,
Mm-hmm.
in the takes, and that to me is the most sort of interesting. So I always try and come prepared, but not locked into a certain thing. I think that being over prepared is sometimes really detrimental to a performance. But
Yeah.
it just sort of depends on the role. I mean, some roles you need to be doing tons of research. I played a Marine in a movie called
Mm.
Megan Levy, so I really had to research a lot and learn things that I knew nothing about.
Yeah, yeah. It all just is role to role in that way.
Yeah, yeah,
I like that you mentioned that spontaneity because that does seem, from the sounds of it, it goes hand in hand with the way that Hannah approaches her material as a filmmaker. She wants that realism. She wants that spontaneity. Don't be rigid. Would be the MO for your day on set.
yeah, absolutely. Which is so much fun, especially when you're working with people. Like, I got the joy of working with Nick Robinson and everyone else in the cast. Ashley Zuckerman, who's so good, who plays my husband. There were so many great people, and everyone was just really ready to explore, and be super open and try new things.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. Well, you mentioned that you aren't professionally trained as an actor, which I'd love to hear just how you came to the performing arts in the first place. You come from a pretty prominent sports family of all things. So how is it that the performing arts came into your life, and when did you realize that you could actually make a go of it professionally?
Um, I just had the bug when I was little. I was really little. I used to watch a lot of old musical movies with my mom and my sister, and we lived close to New York City, so we would go into the city all the time
Mm.
and see Broadway shows. So that's where the love started. Was really at home, and then my mom sort of put me in one of the community plays when I was about 9, and I was completely obsessed with it then. And then when I learned that I was allowed to do that as a job, like a grown-up job, I never looked back. But we used to drive into New York City, which was an hour away, just to buy Backstage magazine so that I could
Really?
see what the open calls would be for the next Broadway shows, because
Yeah.
I was singing a lot and auditioning for Broadway a lot when I was a kid. So yeah, Backstage magazine was our newspaper, I guess, was a really, like, that was the golden ticket when I was 14.
Yeah, every Thursday. I love hearing that.
Yeah, yeah.
Kind of your New York roots. Yeah. Are you missing theater now? Obviously, it's a huge hole in our industry right now.
I know it is. Yeah, I absolutely do. I mean, I've missed it for quite some time because I moved to Los Angeles when I was 19. So,
Sure, yeah.
but anytime I go back to New York, I try and, find time to see theater, because I really do love it. And that's where it all began for me, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do have a very, very soft spot for it.
Well, two last questions for you here, and kind of again taking a walk down memory lane to when you were reading Backstage, maybe. But a lot of our readers or audience today, our readers in general, are those kind of early career folks hitting the audition room, doing the self tapes. What's your best piece of audition advice?
Oh God, I need some audition advice. I have to say, this isn't going to be a good answer, but because I really, truly, I think it changes as you have more experience, but like, if I have to audition for something, I get just as nervous, I would say. And
Mm-hmm.
for me, it's always about, like, I have a hard time doing a good job if the energy of the room isn't sort of like right, or if you feel like they're not rooting for you. Sometimes I find it really hard to do a great job if you can tell they don't want you, which sometimes happens. Immediately you're like, oh, they're clearly not going to hire me. So I don't know, I would say, how do you do a good job when they're not really on your side? That would be something that I could learn from, because I still audition for things, not as often, but like, I do think auditioning a lot is helpful. Like, when I was auditioning for 3 things a day, I think you just get better at it just from that.
It's just a muscle memory. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, looking to a teacher, in addition to the acting of it, you did mention that you're a producer. What kind of stories are you looking to tell as a producer going forward? What can we expect from you?
I think that I mostly am interested in things that, well, I wouldn't say I just want to do controversial stories and work, but like the two things that I've produced that have actually come out have been controversial. The movie I produced, called My Days of Mercy, with Ellen Page, is about the death penalty, and I'm interested in things that get people talking and thinking, and maybe thinking outside the box, and maybe make you look at things differently.
Yeah. I mean, there's no easy answers to these kind of hot button issues. But yeah, it's important to see them portrayed on screen, get the information out there. And I'm really sorry. Did I break up there for a minute? I got a phone call and then.
You did. You did.
Right,
I thought it was my phone. Okay.
No, that one's on my end. But that is all I have for you today, Kate. Thanks for sitting with me, and it's been great to pick your brain a little bit. Congrats on A Teacher. Everyone tuning in now, go see it on FX, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.